Okay, members. First of all, it's good to see members back in the chamber, obviously, for this special day. Members, like every meeting, I'm going to pass on now to Chief Executive John to take us through Agenda 1 and 2.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, members, both physically and virtually. You're very welcome, and to members of Pat's family and friends, you're also very welcome in the gallery. I suppose, members, just today, just before, Mayor, with your approval, just before taking the roll call, just to outline to members procedurally how this should work today. Do you want to just pause for a second while? Yeah. You're okay. You're very welcome. We're just waiting for a wee moment till you get time to settle. You're very welcome. Take your time. That's okay. Are you all okay? You comfortable enough there? Yeah. Thanks very much for coming along too today. So we had just opened the meeting. The Mayor had just opened the meeting, and I was just explaining to our members. We've got quite a few members virtually tuning in today as well. We were just explaining the procedure today. So in a moment, I'll take the roll call of members, but we have to hold two meetings back to back, and we open the first. And the purpose of the first meeting is for members to consider posthumously awarding the Freedom of the City and District to Mr. McManus. And from that meeting, we require a proposer and a seconder. And you may wish to consider very briefly during that meeting the reasons why you think such an award is merititious. And assuming that we then take a vote on that, and assuming that passes, that we then close that meeting and we open the second of the two meetings. And again, the Mayor will invite you to all attend the second of the two meetings. If you're okay with this, members, I won't do another laborious roll call. I'll just assume it's the same attendance. And then the purpose of that meeting is to actually confer. So the first meeting is to propose to confer, and the second meeting is to actually confer. Now, the challenge for members is you will obviously wish to say a few words, and you probably wouldn't wish to duplicate. So the suggestion is that if you wish to say a few words, that you refrain and do that in the second meeting. But in the first, in proposing, you may wish to outline why you wish to propose and defer your lengthier comments to the second meeting. At that stage, we will invite Kevin up and the Mayor will present the conferral or undertake the conferral, and then we'll ask Kevin, if you're comfortable, just to say a few words as well. And then the meeting closes and we will retire for refreshments. So that's very broadly how it would work this afternoon. So it's just to make it work as smoothly as possible. So are we comfortable with that, Mayor? And do you want me to proceed with the roll call?
Yeah, I'm happy enough to continue on the Agenda 1 then, members.
Okay, thank you. So to all members of Derry City and Strabane District Council, you're hereby summoned to attend a special meeting of the Council to be held as a hybrid/socially distanced meeting, both physically in the Council chamber and remotely via WebEx today, Monday the 28th of February at 2:05 p.m. So starting with the roll call, Alderman Breslin.
An apology, John.
Alderman Devaney.
Here, John.
Alderman Guy. Alderman Guy. Alderman Hussey. Alderman Carrigan.
Here, John.
Alderman McClintock. Alderman McCready. Alderman McCready. Alderman Ramsey. Alderman Ramsey. Alderman Wark. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Raymond Barr,
Here, John.
Councillor John Boyle,
Here online.
Councillor Michaela Boyle, Councillor Carr,
Here, John.
Councillor Cusick, Councillor Cusick, Councillor Dobbins, Councillor Dobbins, Councillor Donnelly,
And Shaw.
Councillor Doyle,
John.
Councillor Duffy,
Shaw.
Councillor Edwards, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Farrell,
Here.
Councillor Ferguson,
Here, John online.
Councillor Fleming, Councillor Fleming, Councillor Gallagher,
Shaw. John.
Councillor Harkin, Councillor Heaney, Councillor Heaney, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Logue,
Shaw.
Councillor McGinley, Councillor McGinley, Councillor McGowan,
Apologies, John, for Councillor McKinley, please.
thank you. Councillor McGowan, Councillor McGuire, Councillor McGuire, Councillor McHugh, Councillor McHugh, Councillor McKeever, Councillor McKeever, Councillor McKinney, Councillor McKinney, Councillor Mooney,
Here, John.
Councillor O'Neill, Councillor O'Neill, Councillor Riley,
Here, John.
Councillor Sinoy Barr,
Here, John.
Councillor Tierney.
Here, John.
Thank you, members. And just running back over some of the gaps in the list just to check. Alderman Guy, Alderman McCready, Alderman Ramsey, Councillor Cusick, Councillor Dobbins, Councillor Edwards.
John, can I pass on apologies for Councillor Cusick?
Thank you. Councillor Fleming, Councillor Heaney.
Likewise for Councillor Dobbins.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, Councillor Kelly, Councillor McGowan, Councillor McGuire, Councillor McHugh, Councillor McKeever, Councillor McKinney, and Councillor O'Neill. Thank you, members. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, John. Thank you, members. Members, moving on now to agenda 3. I would like to remind everyone in remote attendance that this meeting will be broadcast live through the council YouTube channel and be available for viewing in the public and media. The broadcast will be available for repeated viewing at a later date. The broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with council protocol. Members and approved speakers are reminded to have their mics on and cameras while speaking during the meeting and use chat facilities to highlight a request to speak. By participating in this meeting, you are consenting and they being filmed and use of storage images for broadcast and training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historic records and making those records available to the public. The copy of the council privacy notice may be found on the council website. Okay, members, moving on to agenda 4, declaration of members' interest. If there's any members here online which they have declared any interest, please let me know now in the chat box. Thank you, members. Okay, members, agenda 6. The conferring of the freedom of the city, Strabane District Council to NHS nurse Pat McManus. I'm now looking into this part of the meeting, looking for a proposer and seconder, and the floor is open. Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting us in. And one who was the original proposer of this, I would like to propose today the recommendation coming forward that we confer the freedom of the city and district to Pat McManus. And I'll tell you why. We find ourselves in unprecedented times in the context of a pandemic. And Pat was very skilled, he was very experienced, and he had great leadership in the field of the NHS. And he went to the front line, and the purpose of that was to save lives. And unfortunately, he lost his own. So I make that proposal.
I second that.
Thank you, members. We have a proposer, a seconder. So now I'm going to bring in Eleanor to do the report. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, the purpose of this report is to consider and make a decision on the motion to confer posthumously the Freedom of the City and District Award on Mr. Pat McManus. As members are reminded, at the council meeting held on the 25th of June 2020, the following motion was approved by council under minute reference C189/20. And that was that this council posthumously awards the Freedom of Derry City and Strabane District Council to NHS nurse Mr. Pat McManus. The council has authority to confer the Freedom of the City and District in accordance with the Local Government Transitional, Incidental, Consequential and Supplemental Provisions Regulations Northern Ireland 2015. As members would note, the award of the Freedom of the City and District is the highest level of civic award given in recognition of an individual. A special meeting of council is required to consider conferring the Freedom of the City and District to any individual. Elected members are invited to provide comments related to the recognition of the late Mr. McManus at this meeting. Given the impact of COVID-19, this meeting has been held in a hybrid format and subject to council resolving to confer the Freedom of the City and District. The conferment ceremony will take place at a further special meeting immediately after this one. This, as I say, will be followed by photographs and a civic reception hosted by the Mayor. The award itself, as the Chief Executive already indicated, will be accepted by Mr. Kevin McManus, son of the late Mr. Pat McManus. A number of family members and friends are actually in attendance this afternoon in the chamber, and I would like to welcome Adrian, Kevin and Stephen, who are Pat's sons, Martin McManus, who's Pat's brother, and his partner Tanya Watkins, Martin Duffy, who's Pat's partner Lena, is representative here today, and also Aileen Harley and Noah Mullen, who are niece and nephews, Amy Ward, who's a niece, Francis Malloy was a friend, and Margaret and Jerry McKenna, who are also friends of the late Mr. McManus. In terms of the implications, there are no equality, rural needs or climate change or other data protection issues associated with the report. And the recommendations in front of members today is firstly that members provide comments in relation to the award, that council makes a decision in respect of conferring the Freedom of the City and District on the late Mr. Pat McManus, and subject to the views of elected members, the council proceeds to the conferment of the award. Thank you, Mayor and members. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So members, I have a proposer and a seconder on the table now. So what I'm going to do now is bring the first part of the meeting to a close. So thank you. Pardon? Yeah, it is unanimous. Yes, members, all 9. Yes. So I'm bringing this part of the meeting to a close. Thank you. Okay, members, welcome to the second part of today's special meeting held in Derry City and Strabane District Council. Now I'm going to pass the Chief Executive, John, to take us through. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, and just formally once again to all members of Derry City and Strabane District Council, you're hereby summoned to attend this further special meeting of the council to be held as a hybrid socially distanced meeting, both physically in the council chamber in the Guildhall here in Derry and remotely via WebEx today, Monday the 28th of February at now 2:15 p.m. I'm going to assume members that the roll call is as per the previous meeting. If there are any members virtually present who weren't at the previous meeting, if you just want to let us know now.
John, Angela Dobbins here. I was a bit late at the previous one, so I mightn't have been marked present. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dobbins. Is there any other members? Okay, thank you, members, and back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, as per you, John. I'm going to pass now the statement of rule of meetings was obviously done there in the past meeting, so I'm going to go on through that. The declaration of members' interest. If there's any declaration of members' interest, could you let me know now on the chat box or in the chamber? No declaration. Okay, members, moving on to agenda 5. And I'm going to open up the floor now to members and online if you would like to use your chat facilities. Obviously, this is a very special occasion. We're here today, and it's the Freedom of the City and District Honours Strabanners. He's been granted the Freedom of the City and the District to NHS nurse Pat McManus, who tragically died of COVID-19 in 2020. The proposal to confer the freedom of the Derry City Strabane District was prompted by a notice of motion brought before this council in June 2020. With the plans being delayed due to the COVID restrictions, the Freedom of the City and District is an honour which is granted following 2 special hybrid meetings and which are getting held now. I'm at the McManus family, and I'd like to welcome family members, Kevin, to my side here, and the rest of the family members and friends of the Pat. As Mayor, it gives me great honour today to welcome you all here and especially to deliver to someone very, very special to all us in this district. It is a huge honour and contribution that Pat has given me throughout his life of caring for everyone. He was determined and to continue his service despite the personal risks of the pandemic. For over 40 years, Pat dedicated himself to the NHS, and the family must take comfort in the many lives and the lives he had an impact on his work and the compassion he showed. I sincerely hope the honour with demonstrate the huge debt and gratitude we feel for Pat's sacrifice. It conveys the pride of the entire community, the whole council and district area. There was widespread sadness and grief across the city and district with the news of Mr. McManus' death broke, especially in his hometown of Strabane in 2020. The 6-year-old had continued his role as frontline care worker in England despite suffering many vulnerability of the virus. Mr. McManus spent over 40 years working as a nurse, first in Northern Ireland, then his family moved to England in 1994. Although he had offered the managerial role and the limited contact with patients, he opted to continue his caring role, and which has been a lifelong vocation. It gives me great honour as your mayor today to present this award. Members, I'm going to pass it on to the further members now on the floor or on the chat box. Councillor Barr.
You, Mayor. I'd like to welcome Pat's family and friends here today as well. I knew Pat growing up in the Hill of Town. I knew Pat and his family. Pat was a very happy-go-lucky, jovial, caring person, and those qualities will have served him well in his chosen profession. If we go back to the start of this pandemic, no one knew what was ahead of us, but as it progressed, the one thing that we seen was in great demand was courage and leadership. And there's no doubt Pat had those qualities in abundance. Unfortunately, this courage was to cost him his life. I would like once again to offer my condolences to Pat's family and friends, and I would just conclude by saying Strabane is proudest of Pat. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barr. Members? Yes, Councillor Michaela Boyle.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I too would like to welcome to the Chamber the family and friends of the late Pat McManus. We are indeed delighted to have you all here this afternoon. And I'm also delighted to speak here today on behalf of my party, Sinn Féin. Just a week after Pat's passing, Councillor Raymond Barr, alongside local interdenominational clergy, organised a memorial event to remember Pat. Family and friends gathered in the grounds of the Church of the Immaculate Conception, where the bells rang out and prayers were said in remembrance of Pat. At the time, the local media said this was the church where Pat was baptised and received his sacraments, the church where he would have attended regularly growing up as a young boy in Strabane. That day, the people of Strabane stood still and remembered Pat. Pat was a dedicated, compassionate frontline worker, working in the health sector for over 40 years, who during the pandemic returned to the front line, put himself selflessly out there to help those most in need of medical attention despite his own medical condition. That is testimony of the man he was. And of course, that compassion was something that was instilled in him by his parents, Peggy and Joe. His late mother, Peggy, was also, you could say, a frontline worker in her own field and expertise of supporting and caring for the people within the community around her. At the time of Pat's passing, it was incredibly difficult for his family in England and his many family and friends here in Strabane and the length and breadth of Ireland. Many friends taken to social media to pay tribute and remembrance to Pat. I'm in no doubt today it is a bittersweet day for his family and friends gathered here today as we posthumely confer the freedom of the city and district to the late Pat McManus. I hope this brings some comfort to Pat's family, and we here in Derry and Strabane will always remember Pat and the sacrifice and the courage and commitment he gave to others.
Thank you for that, Councillor Michaela Boyle. Alderman McClintock.
Thank you, Mayor. And could I, on behalf of the DUP, offer our sympathy to the family and to the friends of the late Pat McManus. And as Michaela has said, this is, I'm sure, a bittersweet day for all of you. It's a difficult day because although this is an honour for your father, it also, I'm sure, brings back many memories and hopefully many good memories of the times that you've had together. So to the sons, the brother, the family members and the friends here today, our heartfelt sympathies. I didn't know your father, I didn't know Pat, but from all that I have heard over a period of time, he was an absolutely amazing example of a caring individual who wanted to help others, even during times when his own health really maybe should have dictated that he shouldn't have been on the front line. But so, like so many people during the pandemic, he stepped up to the mark. And we are so proud that there's people in our community who did this for all of us. He is a fine example, or he was a fine example of a dedicated, caring person who looked to put other people's needs before his own. And it is an honour for me today to be able to say on behalf of the DUP that we recognise the sacrifice that Pat made, and to hope that this brings some degree of comfort to all of you in the days ahead as we remember the dedication of Pat. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alderman McClintock. Councillor Jason Barr.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me in, and once again extend a massive welcome to all of Pat's family, sons and friends here today. I'm honoured to sit here today as a Strabane and Sperrin councillor, and on behalf of the SDLP, to be part of this event in awarding the late Pat McManus the freedom of Strabane and Derry. Pat McManus gave over 40 years of service as a nurse in Staffordshire, and he gave his life to helping others. It is only right that his contribution is acknowledged here locally today. Pat and his family are well known in Strabane town, and I'm delighted that he is getting this deserved recognition. Pat's late mother Peggy was a former councillor for the SDLP in the old Strabane Council, and the family had done a lot to better the lives of people locally. Pat continued that work by giving back to his community. It is only right that his contribution is recognised here today. So today, while we award this award in remembrance of Pat, our continued thoughts are with Pat's 3 sons, Kevin, Stephen, Adrian, and the extended family and friends, which I'm sure you're all very proud to sit here today to see your dad and Pat remembered in such a poignant way. Pat's work exemplified the work of all our health service staff and our carers, who have done an amazing job over the pandemic, working in intolerable conditions, putting their lives before anyone else. Their sacrifice cannot go unnoticed, and they deserve every plaudits and praise for their commitment and dedication. So to Pat, thank you and rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Mayor, and just to echo some of the thoughts from previous members, to welcome Pat's friends and families, here today. It is indeed an auspicious occasion to be here and to confer the Freedom of the City and District upon Pat. It's obvious from the contributions of those who knew him and from those who know the family from Strabane that he dedicated his life to serving others. It's a great honour for me as an A2 councillor to be here to witness our thanks collectively on behalf of the City and District to Pat, and I want to extend our condolences, of course, to the family as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Doyle. Councillor Sean Hargan?
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of People Before Profit, we're delighted to be able to welcome the family and friends of the late Pat McManus here to the Chamber today to receive this important tribute. And we send and give our deepest condolences as well to all of those who have felt the loss of Pat. And I think most of us, I think all of us had no hesitation supporting this proposal when it was brought forward. I think Pat's life is about, it embodies the best of us. His contribution in terms of putting care in, helping other people first, and selflessly stepping forward during the pandemic, even when it risked his own health. And I think that that is something that we should be paying tribute to. It's something we should celebrate. And I think it's the reason why we're conveying this important tribute to Pat. I think this is an award to Pat and to Pat's family, but I think this is really a way for us as a council to give some tribute to all the sacrifices that health and frontline workers made over the last number of years. I mean, people had a choice. They didn't need to go out and put themselves forward. They didn't need to go out and risk their own lives to help others, but people like Pat did. And I think that that is something we should salute. We should celebrate that. And I think it's something that we want to see given proper recognition. So it's absolutely right today that Pat received this award. So we're delighted to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hargan. Alderman Hussey?
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity. And like others, can I offer a very sincere welcome to family members who are here. I'm mindful of having had the privilege of serving on Strabane Council with Peggy. And by the way, she's here because I watched you walking across there, Kevin. And that was the way Peggy would have walked into the chamber. I'm sure that Peggy and Joe are, looking down with tremendous pride. There's a particular poignancy for myself. 50 years ago, I lost my father, who was also a mill nurse. So, I can empathize very much with you guys on the loss of a father who worked within the NHS. There is a pride throughout our community in the contribution of Pat to society at a time of danger. And I'd like to think that this award recognises Pat's selfless devotion to humanity. And thank you, Pat, for that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alderman Hussey. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me a chance to speak. And apologies, I'm not able to join you today in the chamber. I wanted to offer my party's, the Alliance Party's sympathies to Pat's family. Obviously, listening to speakers who knew Pat personally and knew of him and the family in Strabane, he was a well-loved man who did make a huge sacrifice and showed us how much humanity meant to him. I think it is a very bittersweet day. I think this is something that we as a council, it's a small tribute to Pat's honour and to his memory. And I think the family and friends, I think today is a very proud day for Pat. You know, he did love and care for people for over 40 years in the NHS, and it was a very terribly sad day when we heard of the loss of Pat. So, Mayor, I just wanted to offer my condolences to both the McManus family and Pat's friends. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Sean Carr.
Thanks, Mayor. Could I also welcome the family here this afternoon and send my condolences on the passing of Pat. Obviously, I didn't know Pat, but again, what we've heard from the people that do know him, he obviously was a brave man, good man, that went out onto the front line and gave his life for the help others. So, and I'm privileged to be here this afternoon to see this honour being bestowed on Pat. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Final speaker, Councillor Paul Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting us in. And like others, I'd like to welcome the entire family and friends to the chamber. I'd also like to thank all the across the chamber, all the full support for this day, this highest honour to Pat. And I'd also like to thank the staff, the council here. This has been difficult times, and it's been difficult to try and put this together. So I think that a big thank you to them should go out as well. And I think some members have mentioned that it's bittersweet, but I think it should be a proud day for Pat. And I think if Pat was looking from wherever he's looking from, it would be he'd be very proud to get the acknowledgement of the highest honour of the freedom of Strabane. I think he would be a very proud man today. So I think that's what the family should take from what we got today. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Okay, members, I see no further speakers. So to continue on this part of the agenda, I'm going to now invite Kevin to stand and present him with Pat McManus, Freedom of the City and Strabane District Council. Thank you, members. So now I'm going to invite Kevin now to say a few words.
First, I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak today on behalf of the family. I'd like to thank all the councillors here today for the very kind words that you've said. It really does mean a lot. Again, I want to thank you for this honour. I mean, it isn't lost on us how big an honour this is. It means so much to the family. And we don't take this lightly at all, believe me. I'd like to thank Councillor Gallagher as well for proposing it in the first place. I'd like to thank you all for accepting it and moving it forward. I think for anyone who knew Dad, knew what he was about, knew he wore his heart on his sleeve, and knew exactly what he was about. But for people who don't, I always try and say, like, there's three key traits that he always had. One was his love for his family. As we were growing up, we never wanted for anything. He made sure that he looked after us and everything was in order. Secondly, was his love for his work. He absolutely loved being a nurse and a nurse manager. He took great pride in that. He took great pride in his union work as well. He was a union rep. So not only looking after vulnerable people, we wanted to make sure all workers got the right deal and the fair crack at work as well. So he was very proud of that. And also the third thing was the love of where he's from. He was very, very proud to be from Strabane and to be from the north of Ireland. And so something like this would absolutely mean the world to him. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Members, as Mayor of Strabane District Council, I am now going to bring this meeting to a close. So thank you all online for attendance, and thank you to the family members here in attendance today. And thank you as well to the staff for all bringing us together. Very well, truly deserved. So thank you, members.